So we're going on to Vienna VA Lager, the purple can. And just a side note, this can was intentionally purple for suicide awareness. So we're doing the Out of Darkness walk at Caboose. You can donate and be a part of our team as well. You can join the walk, or you can just donate if you're not comfortable actually going out and walking around people, or you could go out and take a lap somewhere, walk around the block by yourself. But check it out. Out of Darkness walk is coming up on October 3rd, I believe. So we'll pour this beer. It is Vienna VA Lager because Caboose is located in Vienna, Virginia. It is not the original Vienna, so it is Vienna, Austria, and the style is a Vienna lager. So a lot of the German styles, such as Pilsner or Vienna, there are more, but they escape me right now. But they are named after the towns that they were brewed in. So the towns they were brewed in produced a specific kind of malt, and typically the entirety of the grain bill for the recipe of that beer would be composed of whatever malt the town produces locally. And then they took on the name for the beer. So Vienna VA Lager, it's meant to kind of still be a very crisp and refreshing beer, yet have a little more bready, slightly caramel, some of that like caramelized bread crust notes to it, even a little bit just a slight amount of toast to it. So it's a darker color, obviously, than our Vienna Lager. It's comprised mostly of Vienna malt. Our recipe is as well. Not much of a hop presence at all. It's kind of similar to styles like an Oktoberfest or Marzen style beer. I would say it has a little bit more restrained maltiness and a crisper finish than those styles of beer. Really, this style is just meant to be a super easy drinking, balanced beer. It has notes of maltiness, notes of crispness, but it's easy drinking, and you don't have to think about a ton. And a lot of German beers are like that, where they're meant to be drank kind of in mass. That's just the culture. Not that the culture is to drink a lot, but when you sit down, you're typically ordering, in a half a liter or a liter sizes, and sitting down and just enjoying your beer with your meal. Meant to pair with, the same foods you eat every day and the same beer you drink every day.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting some of those slightly more sort of like burnt sweetness notes, like almost like a little bit of butterscotch or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's not like overwhelming. It is. No. It's still light. It's still crisp. It's still, like you said, easy drinking. But yeah, it definitely has some more of those subtle, more like almost roasted nuttiness to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like subtly really complex, I would say.
I would agree with that. Yeah, subtly really complex is a good way to put it. Which is nice, because if you do want to sit there and think about this beer, you can. But I wouldn't say it's a beer that assaults your palate in any way at all, where you take a step back and immediately start thinking about it or sip on it. It's it's the beer drinker's beer. You just beer is it made from grain. It's the drink of the people, and it's meant to just be enjoyed. And you can sit down and relax and have a glass of beer. You can do that with wine as well.
Yeah.
Historically, beer was just what the common people drank, and this is certainly a style that I think does that historical anecdote well.
Yeah, cool. Well, no, it's definitely sort of my type of beer too. I mean, I really like this one a lot, and obviously being in Vienna with Lisa, it's a great setup there. Hi, Lisa. A lot of repeat customers for this beer. So it's definitely a favorite out in Vienna, as well as our other locations too. But just being in Vienna, I've always when in my time there, I've felt some connection to it.
We can't not make a Vienna Lager here, and we're happy that it's turned out to be a really good beer. The style seems to have actually really exploded in the recent years, possibly due to the popularity of Devil's Backbone Vienna Lager. Devil's Backbone being a larger brewery in Virginia. It's owned by Anheuser, so they were able to really crank down on distribution of this beer. And after that happened, I think we saw a lot of craft brewers popping up and making this beer as well, which is interesting because there are likely far, far, far more Vienna lagers brewed in the United States than in Vienna. So I think that's a very interesting trend. I don't actually think this style really, exists to any measurable extent outside of, North America. Which is fascinating, I think.
Yeah. So I had a quick question on, it just sort of being kind of a staple for us and like sort of year over year too. Like with wine, we often talk about vintages and the same wine with a, same label, same producer will change year over year. And I'm wondering, like, sort of as a head brewer, do you ever like kind of make tweaks, or do you just kind of like change to another project?
That's a great question. So there are very, very few beers that I don't make any tweaks on. Vienna Lager specifically is a beer that I am continuously tweaking. Whereas Wasser Pilsner, the beer we just had, it's one of my favorite beers of all time, and I just won't touch it. In fact, it's still, the recipe that we use is still like in a format that we haven't done in so long. We just haven't changed it. Our salt additions for our water profile are written out in like measures of a scoop as opposed to gram measures. So which is how all of our other beers are done. I love that beer, but Vienna Lager I'm really working on tweaking. So there are beer competitions every year judged by BJCP certified judges. So the Virginia Craft Brewers Cup actually just announced results, and they judge it based on very strict style guidelines. And Vienna Lager or Amber Lager is a very strict style guideline, and this is a beer that I really would like to fit the style as closely as possible, which is typically not what I'm going for. I'm typically just going for a beer that tastes good. But there is kind of a level of feeling kind of accredited as a brewer when you're able to, tweak your recipe to really pinpoint all of the aspects of that beer to these style guidelines, and meddle win a medal in one of those categories, which very excitedly we did win a medal when it was announced this past Monday, I believe.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, if anyone saw our thank you. If anyone had our fireside ale when that came out, we got the gold medal for that. So that was very exciting for the whole team. But hopefully next year we'll get that gold medal for Vienna Lager, which we have in the past. But as I mentioned, a whole lot more breweries brewing Vienna Lager nowadays.